right, well, let's have a look at questions 21 to 30. Okay, very important here, no more than 3 words and or a number for each answer. You're listening for, how many people, because, 21 says, blank people. Focus on the sectors and percentages. So you can see you've got sector on the left, you've got percentages on the right. So, you can see number 23, the sector is not there. And 22, 24, there's missing a percent. So just be aware of that. For the next group of questions, well, seems like a percent or fraction for this one, of people. So it could be like a word like half or 10%. And then here's the kind of sector in jobs from 2 to 10 years, okay? And then down here, the title of the chart, seems like the size of the company. It might be a little confusing when you first look at it. You've got 1 to 10, 11 to 20, 21 to 20, 101 to 500, and 500 plus, right? And then you see on the right, you've got percentages. So this would be size of company, most likely, all right? And then you have to listen quite carefully for percentages or maybe even proportions, okay? Like if they said half, then you would need to know half is, 50%. Or if they say a quarter, well, then a quarter is 25%, okay? Very rarely have I heard tests where they say like 1/10, okay, or 1/5. It's usually the only proportions that they expect you to change into percentages are things like a quarter for 25% and a half for 50%. For question 29, what did people most like about their jobs? Well, yeah, the text might not use the same words. They might use synonyms or something different, so be aware of that. And then for 30, you should listen for ranking or ordinal words. Now, ordinal words are just like first, second, third, okay? So they said, which of these was not the top 3 reasons for disliking a job? And these questions are quite tricky because you have to focus on the not. So whenever you're doing a test, and you see not, you have to focus like this, it's not one of the top reasons. So they might actually list the top 3 reasons, and then you have to listen for which one is not there. Okay, for question 21, we can see that there's no answers here. Okay, so you do not have to get stressed. Sometimes you'll be listening and like, oh my God, where's the answer? But it's not here, and it's quite a long introduction. So don't worry about that. 21 doesn't appear until here. There's 384 people. Okay, and so they kind of lead into it. So how many people did we end up interviewing altogether? And then you hear a bunch of numbers, right? You hear 92. You did 119, and Diane did 173. Wow, a total of 384. So, don't latch on to the first number you hear. They do finally give, a total of 384. For question 22, well, there's the answer, right? The answer is 32%. Quite straightforward. Education sector, about 32%. For question 23, well, the sector is business and 16%, which you can see here. Next was the business sector with 16%. So that one is also quite straightforward. For question 24, you've got agriculture, and that's 8%. Let's have a look at that. So agriculture and farming with 8%, and other sectors also at 8%. So, again, this one's quite straightforward. Agriculture and farming are the same thing. On the test, they might use, they might have like farming, right? But again, agriculture and farming are both the same thing. And for question 25, there's 2 answers that are fine for this. You could say a quarter or 25% of people, as you can see here. So a quarter of the people interviewed, right, had been in their current job for between 2 and 10 years. So again, you can see here that, proportion, they don't say 25%, And you could say a quarter or 25% in your answer. For question 26, we talked about how it's the heading and it's company size. And you can see here, the results for company size were, pretty evenly spread, okay? So you can see there that and then they start talking 21%. So I underlined or highlighted all of that, but you just have to focus on company size. For question 27, well, the answer is 17%. Here 17% worked for these which had between 11 and 20 employees. So again, you're just listening carefully for 11 and 20 employees, and then the percentage that corresponds with that. And for question 28, for 500 plus, well, the answer is 29%, as you can see here. 29% work for companies with over 500 staff. Moving on to question 29. So what did people most like about their jobs? Well, there's quite a bit to underline here. So the top 3 things that people listed as liking most about their work are interesting work, friendly colleagues, and a pleasant working environment. So that's what you need to focus on there. And that, that was the one for, answer C. And for question 30, which of these was not in the top 3 reasons for disliking a job? So salary is not mentioned, as I've underlined here. Dislike most about work, most disliked about work are uninteresting or boring work, long work hours, and unfriendly colleagues, okay? So again, the answer there is salary is not mentioned.